Good day, everyone. This is Cap Maceda Aguila, the editor of Carmudi Philippines and Zig Wheels Philippines. Now, we're very privileged today to have with us for our editor session Mr. Willy T10, the president of the Autohub Group, and he's also the president of the Philippine Automotive Dealers Association. So, good morning, Willy. Thank you very much for allowing us to guest you today.
Good morning, Cap. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Okay, we'll get this. This is a very quick interview, so we'll get to it right away. First off, I want to show you. I'm sure you've seen this also. The growth that the vehicle sales for both Campi and Avid organizations has registered. No, so we've seen from May to June at least. No, there's 225% growth for members of Campi and TMA, while on the side of Avid, there's a 198% growth from May to June also. What can you comment on this kind of growth that we're seeing now? I know when we last spoke in another webinar that things were looking not so good. Is this something that your group is expecting, or you yourself as president of Autohub, did you expect these kinds of numbers at least up to last month, up to June?
Because Cap, if you notice, if you have April is almost nothing, no, almost zero, because that was the height of the lockdown, no. So from April to May, I would assume there's a huge growth also, because the middle of May we came from ECQ to MECQ, no. So that's why the demand for May is still low, because MECQ pa yon, no. But June, we a lot of the country, especially in Metro Manila, is already in GCQ. So those who were supposed to buy in April and May, and even second half of March, had to buy in June for those who really need it immediately. So that's why you see a lot of growth from May and June, no? But it's still far off from last year, no? So I expect July to be even higher than June, but the growth will not be the same as May and June, because yung basis natin ng May, it's too low, no? So that's why there's a huge growth in June. So, but that's good, no? Because it means those who had intentions of buying in March, April, and May had to get their cars in June.
Now, it's interesting that you mentioned April, no? Tama ka. April was actually, if I remember correctly, it's 133 units lang for Campi TMA, no? I mean, that's insane.
Oh, that's insanely low. So from 100 something to 1,200, that's 10 times the volume, di ba?
That's correct. That's correct.
Correct. It's about 3 times lang, di ba? 1,239 to 3,680 is about 3 times.
Correct, correct. Now, for your group, I know that Autohub Group represents more than 30 brands, if I'm not mistaken. Kumusta ang business na sa inyo at this time? Let's talk about July naman. How are things now? Do you see, I know that we were talking about the concept of pent-up demand, no, during the times that the dealerships were closed. Are you seeing this up to now, that people are back maybe with more confidence in terms of visiting showrooms or even making sales or doing sales or buying new cars, buying new motorcycles?
We need to split the two, no, automotive, the 4 wheels and the 2 wheels, no. As far as the 4 wheels are concerned, the demand is definitely not yet there, just like pre-COVID times, no? Because first, a lot of industries got affected by the pandemic. So for those who got affected, definitely they will delay or cancel even their purchases or their plans. So yun yung problema right now, no? So if you're in an industry that is affected, like if you're in the travel industry or the hotel business or whatever business, no, restaurants, if the business is not doing well, then definitely you delay or cancel your plans to buy a new car. No, for those who are not affected, naman, or in between, normally they delay. No, and for those who wants to buy, naman, the concern now is the approvals from the banks. For example, if an OFW wants to buy a car now, the banks will not approve it immediately. They will either require a higher down payment or they will just simply deny it. No, so the automotive industry is about 85% financing. So the banks play a big role in the success of or the return of car sales in the entire Philippines. So I should say that there are demand, not as big as pre-COVID, of course, but the approval is for financing is the one that is how should I say, delaying the purchase. For
Correct.
the two-wheel industry, on the other hand, uh, the Vespa and the Vespa specifically, as we always say in Autohub, it's a pandemic proof, no? Uh, so as far as Vespa is concerned, the demand grew pa, no? So the sales for this year will be even better than last year, as far as the Vespa is concerned. Maybe because people who are taking Grab before or have their own cars, instead of two people inside one car, they'd rather have the other one taking a Vespa. So the Vespa demand is actually growing.
Mhm. So you're seeing a shift from in buyer preference from, let's say, four wheels to two wheels. That's a legitimate pattern that you're seeing.
Uh, Especially for the male, no? Kokonti naman yung female na going into scooters, no? Actually, they're the ones preventing their husbands to buy a bike, right? But right now, I think there's good reason for the husband to convince the wife that it's time to buy a bike, right? And let the wife take the car and the husband takes the scooter. So
Mhm.
the demand for Vespa is really growing, and that's the good side, no? For the car side, we just hope that the vaccine will come in, because once the vaccine comes in, I think the banks will be more aggressive when it comes to approving, and then the car sales will go back to normal. But as long as the vaccine is not yet here, then there's gonna be some obstacles we need to hurdle before we go to that normal situation.
Mhm. Mhm. Now, I know in our previous conversation, you when I asked you for a projection or estimate or guesstimate, sabi nga nila, as to the recovery of the auto industry, you were saying that it's really hard. And also the other guests on that webinar were also kind of uncertain to give, or reluctant to give a projection as to when we will see the full recovery, because as you mentioned, I think people are really, you can't really plan on something until we have the vaccine. Tama ka doon, ano? But also tama ka rin in that all of the auto executives that we've been talking to are saying that, okay, we do want to get back to normal. We do want to get back to selling cars again. In fact, there are a lot of very nice promos out there, right? But again, as you said, also they are saying that the recovery is highly dependent on the willingness of banks and the speed of loan approval also.
Correct. That's what I mentioned during the webinar that we had. No, actually, I'm still uh, I'm still on the same page as what I mentioned. No, there are many factors. No, and of course, if you look at the situation, especially in the Philippines, the number of cases are still growing. No, it's still big numbers. No, let's hope that it gets flattened, because that's another thing. If we can flatten the curve, as they say, then things will be better. Then the banks will be more aggressive. No, Right now, they're very, very, very conservative, and one of the things that they probably monitor is when the cases would be flattened already, and of course the vaccine, no, which a few days ago there are news that some companies, the big companies, are coming up with the vaccine hopefully by before the end of the year. So that's a very, very good news for us. So basically we just want the economy to go back, no. Nobody can tell. uh, I don't know if the government would be able to tell us when they will flatten the curve, number one. Number two is when the vaccine is coming out, depends on the big companies, pharmaceutical companies. We've heard of so many companies around the world saying that they will, pero ano yan eh, there's no exact date for those, no? So even us, yun ang problema, the uncertainty. But to be optimistic about it, it will come. It's just a matter of when. So right now, we need to be careful. We need to be conscious about our cash flows. Uh, we need to be more aggressive with online sales. Lahat ng klaseng pwedeng pag-isipan na to cut cost should be there.
Mhm. Oh, now that you mentioned that, I wanted to ask you that, So, and also as part of PADA, PADA, ano yung nangyayari? Kumusta ang mga members nyo? I mean, how are you guys coping? Sabi mo nga, one of the things that you're doing is you're cutting cost, of course. Kasi this new normal, parang naka-holding pattern tayo. Correct me if I'm wrong. Parang holding pattern tayo along with the quarantine level that we have or the restrictions that we have is parang that will also continue to limit the kind of or the amount of business that you will have. Is that correct?
Correct, no? For example, if your sales are down by 60%, you cannot maintain the whole workforce. So some of the dealers would have to retrench or to lay off, no? Like for example, if you're gonna, without mentioning any name or any dealership, some would decide to close down, which you already know about that, right? And others choose to retrench or lay off. Some would keep the whole workforce with them and pay them, no? But how long would that last, no? And how long would that be, no? Some companies would retrench, like say 20, 25%. The reason they have to retrench the 20 or 25% is to save the 75 to 80%. See? So you need to cut costs. The biggest concern we have is basically if most of us have loans, if not all of us have loans with the banks, and the interest is not waived at all. So maski wala kang benta, you have to pay interest. They just spread out the interest into a few months after, no? Pero you still have to pay it. And yun yung masakit, no? Another thing is your rent, no? We're not inside the mall. So some landlords who are kind enough will waive it for the 2 months, some of them 1 month, some of them not even 1 month, and some totally zero discount. They'll just say, okay, that the 3 months during pandemic, I'll spread it out for 6 months or 1 year. But still, just like the banks, you still have to pay rent, no? So depende the relationship, not actually even the relation. It depends on your landlord whether they want to help you or not, no? So those are the three things, no? So the interest rate, the manpower, and of course the rent, no? Those are the three biggest expense of a car dealership. So when we talk about it during PADA, basically our PADA meeting is both informative, puro chismis eh. Chismis, ask each other what's going on. Everybody will talk about their own brands and then update each other of what's going on. So those are the things that we are looking at. And for PADA, as president of PADA, we're looking at initiatives so that dealerships will join PADA, because not all dealerships are members of PADA. No, there's fees and everything else. So we're taking some leads wherein if you join PADA, you will have this, and it will come up with that very soon.
Mhm. What's the mention mo yung meetings nyo, no? What's the mood like during those meetings aside from the chismisa na sabi mo nga, no? Hindi naman mawawala yung kahit anong klaseng meeting eh. But the kind of how's the mood like in terms of um how is their outlook for the at least for the near future hanggang let's say hanggang end of the year? Is it more of let's just ride this out until the year ends, or is it more of better times are coming? Yeah, malapit na mag-December, baka how's the ano ang expectations?
The meeting with PADA was just last week, no, and it's only the officers, no, and we wanted to yung the timing was last week, so it was matagal na yung lockdown na wala na di ba? I mean, everybody was anticipating, so it was a very light mood. It was a very relaxed mood because most Zoom meetings with manufacturers, is intense. Eh. So yung meeting with PADA is one of the relaxing ones, no? So a lot of smiles, even with this problem, a lot of smiles, a lot of information gathering and information sharing, and we're all looking forward to the day that it will become normal. It might come sooner or later. You're right that we need to survive this year, and hope for the vaccine, basically. Hope for the economy to go back. And we want to try to help each other and see how we could blend in the Vismin dealers, how we could help. Yun yung pinag-uusapan eh, how we could help. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's good. It's nice to know that you guys are optimistic still, though. I mean, there are lots of smiles. That's always good to hear.
Yeah. Optimistic with a lot of prayers, Optimistic with a lot of prayers because, mahirap yung maging pessimistic at this point in time. We have to border optimism with reality also. Because marami ding mga bad news. So we don't absorb the bad news 100%, meaning we don't take it that seriously. Kung merong pessimistic, optimistic, realistic, nasa above realistic kami. Let's say, pessimistic is 0, 100% ang optimistic, realistic is in the middle. We're probably at 60%, 65%.
That's good. Okay pa rin yan. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Now, last question. No?
Half of the battle is lost if you're very pessimistic.
Correct. Wala namang mawawala sa di ba? If you become more hopeful, wala namang mawawala sa iyo yun eh.
Correct. So we try to be iba rin yung alam mo yung nangyayari. So that's why you talk to each other so that you can have more information. Yeah, what are the best practices of each and every brand or dealership? We can share information and do it ourselves, no?
That's right. Okay, last question. Malapit na pala tayo sa time.
It's okay. I have time.
Yeah. Talk to us about balik tayo sa Vespa. Please tell us about what's in store from Vespa.
Yeah, we're launching the GTS Super and the Sprint Racing 60s today, no? And as I mentioned, Vespa is one of the few brands that are pandemic proof, no? Meaning the pandemic did not affect the sales of the Vespa, and we believe that we're almost sure that the Vespa sales will outgrow the sales of last year, no? We have strong 17 dealerships nationwide, and all of them are asking for more units. So we're very excited about the GTS Super and the Sprint Racing 60s. It's classic and sportiness at the same time, and we're launching it today, and we're very excited about it.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned, no, now I want to clarify this. No, sabi mo, you are on track to surpass the sales of last year. And this is given everything already that happened in 2020. So
Yes,
that's really good news for Vespa.
yes. Actually, we're very surprised and excitedly happy and excitedly surprised because maybe, as I've said, some husbands could easily convince their wife now to buy a Vespa because normally the wife is the one preventing the husband to buy. And ngayon, konti traffic, they don't want to contract disease from somebody else, either whether they share a car, take a grab, or angkas is not allowed yet, no? And maybe the Vespa is the best way, to go around town now, right now.
All right. Well, congratulations, Willie. And again, thank you very much for guesting on our editor session today. For Carmudi Philippines and Zig Wheels Philippines, that's with Cap Maceda Aguila. Again, I'd like to thank our guest, Mr. Willy P. President of the Autohub Group and the Philippine Automotive Dealers Association. That's it for us. And please, if you have questions or comments, please comment below this post. And we'll see you guys soon. Keep well and keep safe.
Thank you.